Welcome, everybody. It's another Wine and Comics pairing show with our friend and semi-permanent co-host, Richard Fairgray, back for his fourth time on the show. We will introduce the book that we're going to talk about, and we're going to introduce the wines right off the bat, because Richard has a very special case today. But we're going to introduce all of that right after our opening. Let's get to it. Right. Welcome, everybody. If you are in the comments, please sound off. Oh, and I actually need to go over and click on the live button on Instagram so we can be live on Instagram.
Yes.
We missed our whole stunning opening, but now we are live on Instagram. All right, guys. Well, look, we're here today. Richard, this is his fourth time on. This will be a shock to no one, but it's to talk about yet a new comic that he has created. Not yet another issue of one of the old ones, but yet a new series that he has created. Wet Cement, issue number 1. You can see on the ticker down below that this is Wet Cement number 1 of 6. It is based on a short story that he did quite some time ago about a patch of wet cement that his protagonist continues to try to leave his mark in, and it constantly resets itself but never dries. And he has to continue to attempt to leave his mark. There's a lot more to this story, though. This is kind of a coming-of-age story, the magical realism of the wet cement, of course. A lot to talk about there. But first and foremost, right before we get to the wine pairings, Richard, just so the audience has some context for this, this was based on a short story, and most of these stories are usually formulated from some true story of your past. Where did this story come from for you? What's the pitch for the story from in your own words, and where did it come from?
Okay, so the pitch for the story is a 17-year-old boy finds a patch of wet cement outside his house, and at first it brings back a lot of nostalgic feelings of childhood and freedom. The most human thing we can do is to alter our environment, and when you're a kid, wet cement is really the best opportunity to do it. You can write your name, you can draw a dick, you can curse the world, and all of this comes flooding back to him. He writes his name. The next day, his name is gone and the cement is still wet. And as this keeps happening, he realizes the cement is never going to dry, and now he has to grow up in a world knowing that something's wrong that no one else will ever notice. This whole thing, back in what year was it that the New 52 launched?
Oh, Jesus. 2009?
I
was going to say 11, but okay. Yeah.
No. You're right. It was after Infinite Crisis, not Final Crisis, right?
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So okay. Whatever year before 2008. Before 2008.
Yeah. So when DC said we're going to do 52 books, whatever, my friend Theo and I said, well, DC have like heaps of people working there, so that's actually not that impressive. But if he and I could put out 52 books, it would be really cool. And we didn't want to slow down on anything else. We were already putting out 30 books that year between us. So we said, let's do an extra 52, and we'll call it Richard and Theo's Funny Books. Now, we can't match the length of the DC books, and we didn't have anyone doing coloring. So it's 52 8-page black and white mini comics that would allow us to like burn through every fucking idea that we didn't have a place for. And so we spent this one afternoon just kind of brainstorming these things, and it was things like we did a book called The Dad of Frankenstein, all about Victor Frankenstein's dad being really disappointed in him because he wasn't going to be any good at taking over the family business. All he was interested in doing was playing video games and thinking about his own life. It has probably the dumbest joke I've ever written in it, where you learn that Frankenstein's father runs a sausage and beer restaurant called Frankenstein's. Had that on the first page saying, actually Frankenstein is the name of the chef, not the restaurant.
Nice.
And it's all, so he I don't know why I'm going on about this book, but I'm really proud of it. It's so stupid.
You should be.
He decides he needs to like create a sausage that's good enough that it will like secure his son's legacy and look after him after he's gone. So he goes and digs through all the pieces of other old sausages that have been left behind, stitches together this one wonderful sausage, and it's too overwhelming for the townspeople, and they all storm the place with their forks. And at the end of the story, it's just Victor Sr. talking to his wife in bed, saying like, "Look, it didn't work. I don't know what he's going to do. He did ask me to buy him a shovel today, though, so maybe he has a plan." So it was all like we did like The Visible Man. We did a book called The Norm about a kid who was like so determined to be average that he was really into the Strokes and T-shirts with pockets. We had a thing called Men on the Moon, which was about two astronauts who went to the moon to get the perfect photo of Earth. And now they've been stuck there for ages, but they've got a lot of props with them because every professional photographer knows that you do the serious one, then the silly one. A lot of that one's about tetherball. We just kind of went buck wild.
Wow.
And then out of nowhere, this one story comes up, and Theo and I can't remember whose idea it was even. Like it just kind of happened while we were making this shit. And we thought, we'll do this story called Wet Cement. And it is literally just about a boy seeing wet cement and seeing that it doesn't dry. And it was an 8-page comic with 2 panels per page. It's mostly just this boy staring out his window. It's always framed the same way. The sign is there. And the boy gets older staring out the window at the cement. The ending of it, I won't spoil because like we wanted all of these to kind of feel like campfire ghost stories, or at least the horror ones.
Right.
And the ending of this will actually be very similar to how the 6-issue arc of this new one plays out.
Okay.
But yeah, so I don't honestly know. Like I think it's just that excitement of wet cement. And the way that like we all have an image of it, we all know the sign. What's really funny is that there are no wet cement signs anywhere. Like no one actually has a wet cement sign. There are wet signs. We all think of wet cement because of The Simpsons.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, that's the wet cement thing is.
Wet cement is a Simpsons reference. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
but it's just ingrained in us.
Yeah. And well, in this comic, I'm trying to remember back to the art on the pages. You don't have a sign that says it in these pages, or do you? You just have it cordoned off.
Yes,
you see it, but you only only see the bottom half of it. Page 8. Page 7 or 8.
Okay.
It's the same page where he's getting the Kendrick lyric.
Okay, so you stuck with that. So, what happened to you? So you and Theo, did you actually finish all 52? Did you manage to?
Yeah,
I love that you're like
No, we did 54 because we did a little like 8-page intro comic saying how and why we were going to do it. I think I can't remember exactly how it goes. I know that we shit on Scholastic for doing reprints of Bone in color, which really solidifies it as a specific time. And then we did like an extra comic in the middle about Theo and I talking about how we were doing and how we were coping.
Interesting. Wow. Coping with trying to pump these out. Yeah. I will say John's in the chat.
What was the timeline on this project, by the way, Richard?
Oh, 1 year, obviously.
A full year. Okay.
Yeah. 52 books in 52 weeks.
Yep.
So if anyone's out there planning on doing any heavy lifting in the comics world, lay it to rest because Richard's already done it all. He's proven himself. He is the GOAT.
Let's see if anyone can pull off a full comic once a week, 52 weeks, not a team, one person. Let's see.
Richard's done it. He's about to tell us he's done it. He's about to tell us he's done it.
Don't send me down that road.
He's about to tell us he's done.
Here's the thing. Every issue of Haunted Hill takes 6 days to make. Every issue of X-Files of Frankenstein only took 4 days.
Yeah, see, he's done it.
I had a plan originally with Haunted Hill. I was going to do 52 issues of it this year and just release it online for free, and then every 6 weeks run a Kickstarter to do the collected volume.
Okay.
But I got like a little bit distracted by other things, so there is only 18 issues of that.
Breathing, sleeping, eating,
other books, and also the fact that like Haunted Hill is my most divisive book, and I probably can't make a living if every man on the internet is mad at me for having a woman talk.
That's true.
Really? It's your most divisive book.
People get very upset about Eva.
Why?
Like ladies and gays fucking love her, and straight men by and large are just like angry at her and angry at me for creating her.
Yeah.
I mean, straight men are angry about a lot of things.
You should dig into that,
reason,
Richard, honestly.
But I'm still surprised by I can't, like, what are their, do they ever elucidate what they're angry about in any way that makes sense?
It's that they just hate, like, they always do this thing where they say to me, I just hate her. You know, she's right, but I fucking hate her. I can't really tell you why. Some people have criticized that I didn't make her pretty enough. I always enjoy that one. And some people have actually very earnestly
the classic Hollywood note, for your female protagonist. It's like, she's not pretty enough. No one's gonna be able to like her. She's not likable because she's not pretty.
Yeah, she's not likable. She's not pretty. People are terrible, is what I've learned.
Yes, well, people are terrible.
And I feel like, though, like, she is as flawed as all the other characters in the book. Like, she has her shit a little more together than some of the younger characters, as a lot of older people tend to do. But I mean, it is like a little more together. Like, she's a little more confident. She's a little more has her shit put together, but she's also in her own way a complete mess. But that is the allure. That's like the point, is like all these characters are very interesting because of their personalities, their foibles, their willingness to go along with each other and go along for these rides that they're having. But I mean, that hate or just like outright dislike is strong. She's just a flawed character, but that's what you want in fiction, is a flawed character.
It's a book that does really well for me at cons. And quite often what'll happen, and this happened all this weekend at Calgary, a straight couple would approach the table, and without fail, it was always this. I would say, hey, what kind of comics do you like? To both of them. And the man in the couple would step in front and start explaining which comics he liked. And then I would say, well, looking at the woman in the couple, well, I used to do kids' books, but now I do grown-up books for dirtbags, gays, and ladies. And the woman would go, oh. And then I would talk to her directly about Haunted Hill, and the man would look more and more annoyed. And then just before he would walk away, she would say, I want that one. And she would buy it and walk away with it. And it was consistent. I sold out of book one on the second day of the show. And every sale was the same.
Yeah, you should lean into that. I'm smelling a little separate ash can detailing that tendency there.
All right. Well, let's so Richard, before we get any further, you wanted to do this right up front. So why don't we do this right up front? What are you drinking? What did you pair with your own book, Wet Cement #1, that you want to stop drinking as quickly as possible? So you want to announce it now. Let's hear it.
Okay. These characters are dirtbags. They're 17 years old. They're shoplifting. They're cutting school to go and see fucking Avengers movies. These are kids who are like the 2015 version of who I was, but a lot straighter. So I am drinking what I was drinking at that age: a box of red wine.
Bay.
I purely went with the cheapest one, but it gets better.
Oh, wait, hold that up. Hold that up one more time.
Smoky
Let me see the
Bay.
brand. Smoky Bay.
Jeez.
Smoky Bay,
right?
what? Just like Smoky Bay Red?
It's a red. It's Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was a little upset. Like, my actual go-to at this age was a brand that was just called Soft Country Red.
Oh.
But it was also an Australian wine, so that's good. But here's the thing. Big fucking glass of this garbage and a can of Coke.
Oh no. The old one too. I'm familiar. Yes.
This has many names. Some people call it whatever their town is and then follow it up with shame. I have not had this in my mouth since I was 23 was the last time, actually. There's a possibility that I fucking love it and I drink this all night long. But I will get through at least this glass.
Oh, you might have wanted to pour less of the wine to begin with.
Oh, he's tucking in. It does the trick.
I think it needs more Coke. I'm going to keep adding Coke as we go.
There we go.
Just the rim and a little Coke too.
Out of curiosity, why Coke in red wine?
I don't know. I don't
actually
know.
It's not uncommon. It's a cheer wine.
I know,
sort of,
but I'm asking why.
But it's a cheer wine kind of parallel, kind of adjacent, cheer wine adjacent. It's got that weird cola berry kind of cherry grape thing.
I will say that historically we would try and use either like RC Cola or like Pepsi Max. Like the worse you can go with both ingredients, the more tolerable it is. But I'm not gonna have that shit in my house.
See, I will admit, RC Cola is pretty nasty these days. I've tried it, but I used to love it back in the day. I feel like maybe I was a kid and I didn't know any better, or they've gone way downhill since then. From the sound, like you're telling me, they have not gone downhill. They have always been that much shit. But I remember loving RC and Pepsi. I was never a Coke guy. I was always a Pepsi or RC when I was a kid. My family was too. We were a Pepsi RC house.
I was a big Pepsi Max kid because the ads for it were so fucking cool. And then when I realized that actually Coke tastes better, I just switched over instantly and never had Pepsi again. I don't think I've had Pepsi in like 30 years. Outside of wine.
Yeah. I mean, like RC Cola now tastes ridiculous. Like they don't even put any syrup in this cola anymore. Like it's so watery that you're just like, dude, guys, I feel like they've literally siphoned out. Like they're not putting as much in each can, in each batch. And so it's virtually flavorless, but I liked the formula. It's just the modern RC is like soda water with a hint of cola, which is
I'm not a big soda fan, but if I do have a soda, I like the flavors to be ridiculous. So,
yeah. Well, see, this is the other thing is American Coke sucks butts. Like I know people talk about Mexican Coke being better. It's fine. It still sucks butts. You got to go outside of America. Canada, for some reason, has real original recipe Coke. It's the same as the fucking KFC thing. It's just a better, different drink.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, maybe it's again, you guys didn't put up with like they tried, like because I think they did. Like maybe it's they're putting less of the formula in each batch here in the States, and so you're tasting less of it. I don't know, but like we allowed for it. Like we just kept buying it anyway, and maybe other countries like they tried it and sales dropped, and they're like, nope, go back to it. They're like, who knows why ours tastes so different? But it's all Coke. Like, why would the formula shouldn't be different in any particular way? But I do think people get away with a lot more in the States because we're such consumers, and we will so blindly keep buying whatever it is, even as the quality of the ingredients or the amount of the ingredients just goes down. And we're like, but it's Oreo, but it's Hostess, but it's this. We're just going to keep fucking buying it. And it's one of those hard things where it's like, is my palate better now? And that's why it's shit, or was it always this shit? And I still stand by that this stuff was so much better when I was a kid. Like they were actually making it better at some point. I don't know if it's true, but yeah,
I tend to agree. I think that Coke. I think that everything has become worse because of just the possibility of saving money. I also think that like it's different in it's always been different in other countries, but I think that's less to do with quality changes. I think as every country has gotten worse, I think it's just like what ingredients are available.
Yeah, it's regulatory in terms of
if you go to the Coke Museum in Atlanta, you can try Coke from all over the world.
Yeah.
Yes, you can do that at Disney Springs in Florida. There's a town and there's a Coke store there that does those flights from all around the world where you get like 10 to 20 different samplings of all the different sodas that Coke sells in other countries. That's amazing. I think there's a place here in California somewhere. I just forget where it is. But there's a few of those here in the States. And yeah, they're amazing. My favorite has always been, I don't know what it's called, but it's the Italian soda that is not sold anywhere but Italy. And it has this like slightly black licorice-y flavor to it. And it's awesome. I love it. It's clear. It's just like a clear color. There's no color to it. But it's really good. But yeah, that's always been my favorite. And there's a melon one that they sell in one of the Latin American countries. I'm going to forget which one, but that's a really tasty one. Yeah, there's a bunch. But what they don't have is they don't have just Coke from Australia or just Coke from Canada. They'll always give you the flavors or brands that literally don't exist here. And that's what you get to taste. So yeah,
there was a soda that was very popular in New Zealand called creaming soda, which always made me giggle. And
yes,
it's a very like people will always say like, oh, it's a lot like this, it's a lot like that. It's a little bit like a lot of things, and it's sort of like having a root beer float if it was just a liquid. Like if you found an old root beer float and put it through a soda stream.
Oh, cream soda. That's what it's called in the States.
Well, it's called creamin'. So right, it's probably cream soda, but
yeah, but it tastes so wildly different down there. That's my point. Like it is meant to be the same thing, but again, it's that thing of just what's available.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, like
what are they mixing to make that close?
It's like a difference between ketchups here and in the States. When you look at the back of a bottle of ketchup in the UK, it's basically just sugar, tomato paste, and one other natural ingredient. Here, it's a list of 30.
If you look at like a bottle of Fanta from the UK, it's a totally different color.
Yeah.
Like it looks more like orange juice.
Yeah, it's all the regular.
Well, I think it's also what people are Well, it's what those consumer groups are used to too, right? So it's like what they think you'll accept and what they think you won't. And so in the UK, if they're like, look, if we put more than like 5 ingredients on this thing on ketchup, what is essentially in their minds maybe tomato paste, they're not going to buy it, so we're not going to do that. Whereas in the States, they're like, shit, we can preserve this thing through the roof. We can add all these different things to make it this exact consistency that Americans now we've got them addicted to. So it's like they want this texture, they want this ability to squeeze it through the bottle, they want this, da 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 da. And then in the UK, like one of my favorite things, all the different kinds of baked beans that are in the UK, which I love. But they have like a multi-bean baked bean and like different curried baked beans and like all these different things that do not exist here. We have different flavors of baked beans, which are like normal baked beans, barbecue baked beans, steakhouse baked beans. They're all the difference in flavor is so minute. It's all baked beans with like, I don't know, there must be like one, like we added garlic powder, or we took away we added some very they're so diced onions or pepper, or like green peppers that are so soaked in the can that you'd never know they were there anyway. But it's still just our baked beans. Like there's no difference between them. And then the UK baked beans are like, they've got a wide range. They love it.
Okay. Now, and that's all from the baked bean hour.
Why does the baked beans segment of your show that I assume happens every episode not have its own theme song?
Honestly, it's crazy. It's either one of us at some point in every show goes off on some tangent, and halfway through we look at the other
some
people.
Kind of food.
Yeah, and we look at the other people and realize that neither one's paying attention. We're like, oh, okay, time to bring it back home.
Dave, at what point are you going to do the poke rap to the flavors of baked bean?
Ooh, what is the poke rap? I've never heard of.
The poke rap was the 5-part rap song at the end of each episode of Pokemon that would play through 30 of the original 150. And they would say all of them and then end with at least 150 or more to see to be a Pokemon master is my destiny. And then more rapping. Wow. But I was never a Pokemon kid, so I don't really.
But I will say the best soda ever is, and I really am not a fan of artificial flavors, except for this fucking soda. It's called Knee-High, N-E-H-I. I think it's I think it's an early 20th century brand, really sort of Americana, but the flavors are just so ridiculously intense. There's this peach soda that is
like sarsaparilla-y or something.
I think they have a sarsaparilla. They're very, very widely known for their peach, which is this neon, almost nuclear color, and it strips paint if you leave it sitting. It's just fantastic. So now back to wine and comics. Now that we've ventured
back to wine and comics. Yeah, I mean, we had an entire
soda
segment on Miracle Whip versus Mayo on another show. We had that went on for like 45 minutes or something like that. It was people feel very strongly about these things, but you know what? Yes, the pokey. I'm gonna have to pair baked beans with pokey so I can make that rap song fit. So it's like the pokey baked beans rap song.
Okay. How dare you?
All right. All right. So wine. Richard Fairgray.
So Dallas, we heard Richard Fairgray, what he thought. Now he did.
Wait,
what
we've got some questions. Got some questions first.
Okay.
What was the reason? What were the sort of? What's the parallel? What's the complement to the comic outside of them being pieces of shit?
I wanted to be drinking what I imagine they are drinking. Like, you know, I know. In the comic itself, they have a beer, but like when Max and his friends are hanging out on any normal weekend, this is definitely the shit they're finding. Like, these are suburban kids, like middle class, lower middle class kind of status. Like, the thing they can get away with stealing from their parents is definitely a box of wine, or like better yet, like taking the bladder out of the box and like hiding it under your sweater. Yeah, and they're taking that and they're like filling it with Coke or whatever other thing is in their fridge, because that's like they believe it's a cocktail at this point.
Yeah.
I wanted to be in touch with them. You know, like when I write this comic and I draw this comic, I listen to a mixture of all the music that I was listening to when I was that age, and then all the music that people that age were listening to in 2015.
Ooh.
And it's good to get in the mindset.
What's on your mix? What are some of the songs on that mix? The songs you play. What's on that
so I'm a lifelong devotee of anything by Courtney Love. You know, back when I was 17, it was just the first 3 whole records. And a sort of a somewhat embarrassing deep love for Marcy Playground at the time.
Oh yeah.
And a little bit of Ben Harper, who I saw in concert, embarrassingly. You know what? That's not the most embarrassing.
Ben Harper's great. What are you talking about? Ben Harper's solid. Come on. Okay, he's not great, but he's solid. Unless he's watching. In that case, he's great.
But I did actually, at around that age, I won tickets to a Papa Roach concert, and I did.
Okay, that I have to judge you on. That's
probably my most embarrassing concert experience. And I saw Hanson, you know, so.
You saw Hanson by choice?
Yep.
Early Hanson?
I was 28 years old, and I thought, I bet like Hanson were coming to town. My friend was going; she was really excited about it, and I was like, I remember jamming with these guys when I was 12. Why the fuck not? You know, like if Aqua came to town, I'd see them. And
how were they? Because how they were in their later years by then had like no one was listening to them by the time they were.
They're still throwing albums out. They just toured.
This was 2014 that I saw Hanson. So they were very, very much sad old adults. And I went to the concert, and what I realized really fast is that I am a casual Hanson fan at best. Like, every single other person there was so fucking dedicated. They knew everything this band had done, and they were like hyperventilating to be near them.
Yep, same. I have never heard another Hanson song outside of the Hanson song.
And I know one line from that song, nothing else. So,
and I just assumed they broke up shortly after that album.
No,
because I never heard anything else about them.
They remained brothers for many years.
Did they pause like to finish school, blah blah blah, and then come back? Do you have any idea like what their history was?
Based on how many albums were for sale at the merch stand, they never took.
They never paused.
Like,
why would you ride that dragon? Yeah,
it's sort of awful, but like they have their own Monopoly, and people were buying Monopoly sets at a fucking concert. People were sitting on the ground crying because they were finally seeing Hanson. Wow. I felt like there were people there.
Not come to New Zealand very often.
I mean, fair, but like, I don't know. I just haven't seen that kind of dedication at many shows that I've been to.
You know, it does make sense though, because they're not you are not a Hanson fan to be popular, right? You're not a Hanson fan to like fit in to the current culture anymore. So you are dedicated if you are a Hansen fan. You fucking love that. Like, that makes sense to me. All right. So which of your characters in this comic secretly listens to Hansen? One of them does.
Oh, that is really tough.
Okay, in your mind, maybe more than one if you want to be more than one.
It's like they all do. They have listening parties.
No, I don't imagine any, because like all of them are far too young to have ever known Hansen when they were new. You know, like Hansen, like Mbop is 95. So these none of the main character, no character with a speaking part was born.
Right.
Where Hansen were popular.
I mean, here you still hear Hansen in like CVS in like the grocery store sometimes. Like it just comes on randomously all over the place. So I feel like, but I don't. New Zealand maybe not. That this that could be a very different thing.
Yeah, I guess so, but I don't think that people really get super into grocery store music. You know, like I don't think people.
When I was a kid, I did.
Okay.
I did enjoy Muzak as a child, so yeah.
I'm telling you.
Disappointed when I was in a grocery store and I heard a song that I really liked. I was like, "Fuck hell!" Like this is where my taste is at now. This like I am an adult. Wheels are playing in a grocery store.
Well, I'd say I don't remember the names. Yeah, I don't remember the names of your characters, but the kid who does steal the shoes, I think he is the personality type to be a secret Hansen fan. I completely acknowledge that it would be unlikely given the time period. But if this was a period piece, he'd be a Hansen fan.
Yeah, that's fair. And also, don't feel bad for not remembering the names. I worked very hard to make sure the names were fairly obscured in the story. I'm not even sure if they get mentioned, because I really wanted to hit hard how important Max's name is, and like the ownership of the name.
Right. Outside of Max and Frankie, Frankie's like the only one that comes out much in like Frankie and Max are the two that like in dialogue are mentioned. Frankie might only be twice, but you know, they introduce each other to themselves like twice. So it's like it gets the repetition. So those stuck. The friends, I was just like, I can picture their faces, but that's it. That's all.
I want them to feel like these are the friends he's going to leave behind.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
These are the people you're friends with because you're in high school with them. Yeah.
None of them seem to like each other that much. So yeah. All right. So Dallas, what do you pair with Wet Cement?
All right. So, as you said, Richard, these characters are, it's teen nonsense. They're annoying. You don't want to be around them, but you wouldn't mind watching them because you know something ridiculous is going to happen. But there is surprising depth to this world, particularly your main character. So going into these, it's usually either the wine I would pair as a character in the world. Again, I'm in the background. Where's Waldo? I'm never lifting a finger to help anyone. Sorry, old ladies and children. Or the wine I'm enjoying as I'm sitting down reading this. And for me, I imagine in this world, as you said, with your choice, they would probably find this boxed wine. And I think Mom has maybe graduated to bottle wine, and she has come across a vintage of the Malbec, right? She's like, it's Argentinian. It's so fantastic, and it's so foreign, and and she goes to a Trader Joe's or some Trader Joe's adjacent, and she finds a bottle of $15 Malbec, and it becomes her special occasion wine. So much so that she buys 7 or 8 bottles, and keeps them in a hidden little stack from her husband, of course, and everyone else. But she's forgotten how many she has, so they sneak in one night and decide to take a gander at Mom's little collection, and they pick up a bottle, sneak out with it, don't really know how to open the bottle, so they end up just breaking off the neck. and so for me, in terms of the wine, I knew I wanted something, like I said, that was sort of Malbecian, lack of a better term, something that was probably going to satisfy the palate of a middle American kind of mom. Something sort of black fruit, maybe black currants, a little sweetness, low tannin. And there are very few wines that fit that kind of table wine distinction in terms of the Malbec, like the Vasco Viejo. Here she is, the Malbec Edition Vintage.
Let me make you big. Let me make you big. Hold. There you go. Vasco Viejo.
It's the Vasco Viejo Malbec. This is an Argentinian. I hate to say table wine because they get offended when you say that, but it is an Argentinian Malbec table wine. It is. It's pleasant enough to drink. It is sort of midline all the way through. It's mid tannic structure. It's sort of right down the middle, dry and sweet, kind of. Not too soft, not too acidic, not too light, not too bold. You get some chocolate, some tobacco, some strawberry. So yeah, this is the guy. I think they're sneaking from mom, and they're going to have a drink of wine in the backyard or in the alleyway. And my favorite thing about this wine is that it's aged in the French Nancy oaks. So yeah, there you are. Vasco.
What is Nancy? What is Nancy Oaks? That's a new one to me.
What'd you say, Dave?
What are Can you hear me?
No. Yes. Hold on. Uh-oh.
I can hear you both, if that helps.
Okay. Yeah, Dallas. Okay. Can you hear Richard?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Okay. Sorry, it's just Oh, there we are. Okay. All right. We're back.
Okay, cool. What are Nancy Oaks?
Oh, it's just French barrel oaks. It's just called a Nancy oak.
It's called. Who calls it a Nancy oak? I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Dallas is like, me.
I don't fucking know.
It's like whatever.
Call it Nancy.
My friends, we call it Nancy. So everyone,
yeah, it's the vineyard, the winery actually calls them the French Nancy oaks. I think it's specifically just an oak because they plant this grape in very small lots. Surprisingly, oh, by the way, the price point on this guy is anywhere from 9 to 12.
Okay.
And it's Vino Tinto Mendoza, but it is perfectly serviceable.
Okay,
yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So, unlike the two of you, I picked something good, man. I picked something delicious, something that we want to drink. Well, I'm glad I did now because one of us has got to do that for the poor fans. Now, Dallas's at least does sound like an everyday drinker. Like you're not going to complain, especially at that price point. You're just not going to complain.
It's perfectly great.
And to be fair, I did not go with the rubric either of you went with, like really like what the people in the book would drink or what you in the book in that area at that time would drink either. I just went with the flavor of this work. I really remember, one, this definitely has Richard's voice. It has his style. It's his art. It's so I've already paired two previous works of his before, but this one, the difference in this one, this one's got a little bit more of an edge, a little bit more of bite to it. And not to say like there are more adult themes in his other books. This one does not have like crazy adult themes, but our main character, he does suffer from anger management issues quite a bit. He and his friends are like, as Richard's already mentioned, like they are friends because they're in high school together. They barely like each other. They are often at each other's throats. Like it's a coming of age tale, but this one feels like a bit more bitter and a bit more rough around the edges than his previous stories in terms of feeling, like emotional feeling that's in the story itself. Now we'll see what future issues bring because this is coming of age. This is this character finding himself. And then there's the co-star of the book, Frankie, the female protagonist who we'll see where we go with her. She's more of a side character in issue number 1, but she looks to be very prominent going forward. But this is, it still has that classic Richard's work always just has this very natural feel. Like it's very easy to read. It's the dialogue is organic. You breeze through these comics and they're high page counts. There's a lot to digest. There's a lot that happens in them. This one is like 30 pages of comic in this one story. So, but with that rough edge, I'm like, okay, what is perfectly pleasant? What is like, it's not, this one is not sweet. So I wanted something that had a little bit more fruit than the previous ones, because I've been pairing a lot of whites with Richard's work in the past because of, I liked it. I wanted it really crisp and clean. This one, I'm like, okay, I want more fruitiness in it. I went with the red, but not super fruit forward. I wanted something that was like the fruit's at the point and it's got some rough edges, but it is still utterly pleasant. So, the first thing that really came to mind was the Italian Nebbiolo. But what I went with was the Langa Nebbiolo. So I went with, this is Roddy Ochetti. Langa Nebbiolo, the Langa region. Nebbiolo, normally coming from like the big Barolo Barbaresco regions, is really rough around the edges. Like you got to age that fucker before it's really going to be super pleasant. If you drink it young, they're expensive and they're sought after and considered some of the best wines in the world, but you have to give them time. The Lunga region so there are two regions that Nebbiolo in Italy comes from where they're much softer, much more approachable in youth. One is the d'Alba region, so Nebbiolo d'Alba, which is even softer. And that one is like almost like Nebbiolo as an everyday drinker, which is almost weird, but it really is. It's just like super pleasant, not rough around the edges, hardly at all. So I did not want to do d'Alba. Langa is somewhere in between the two. And it's virtually the same region as Barolo and Barbaresco. It's seated right near them. It's just off to one edge. And so you get a lot of the same tannins, a lot of the same rough edges, but a little more fruit forward, a fair bit softer, but still with some of those rough edges, but still approachable in youth. And so this was my wine where I was just like, this feels like that main character where it's like, he's not a bad person, but he is a bit of an asshole because he doesn't have his emotional state. Like he's dealing with some shit that even he's not really aware of or unable to be fully cognizant of, to fully be able to tackle, especially at his age. There is an edge to this story that is not usually present in the other Richard Fairgray books that I've read. So I wanted this one for those rough edges, but still with that same crispness, cleanness, and just easy drinkability, but then with that hint of something extra, that hint of something that actually you got to think about and you got to struggle with just a little bit. So Langa Nebbiolo, guys, Langhe. That's what I'm pairing.
I am so jealous of the two of you with your drinkable wines.
At least you poured Coke into it, so you have half something you want to drink.
Well, no, here's the thing. When I finish this, I'm going to pour more of the same wine. Like, I'm just not going to mix Coke with it again.
Why? Oh, okay. So it's the two together that make it even worse?
I hope so. I hope it gets
because that was my question. Why Coke? Like, who came up with that? Like, why Coke? Because you could just pour soda water into it. It would be just as easy to get your hands on than Coke.
I'm pretty sure it's the sugar content that's important. The sugar and sort of spice profile of Coke.
Whatchamacallit? Tonic water. Why Coke?
Yeah. Because you could buy the box of wine at a convenience store. You could also buy the Coke at a convenience store. You know for a fact you can get water. But you may not find a tonic water at a convenience store.
Oh, I'm going to call you on that one.
But it's a guaranteed party.
Are we back?
I feel like Coke is just, maybe just kids. They're like, Coke, that's our go-to. That's what we drink like all the time. So if we're going to drink wine, we're also going to pour the other thing we drink all the time in it. I don't know. It's just such a baffling combo. It's like there's nothing that makes sense about it or is pleasant about it. So it's like, why would you make it more unpleasant? That doesn't make sense.
Who's frozen? Am I frozen? No.
No, you're not frozen. Is Richard frozen? Richard might be frozen. I can't. He's not moving. Richard, can you hear us?
Richard, are you there, Richard?
Uh-oh, he might have been lost. I will always Barbara Dillon's with us. I always love Richard, but now I'm here for Dave's breadth of wine knowledge. Thank you, Barbara. Richard? Let me see if I can get Richard back. We're going to remove him from the stage. And now he's gone. Okay, so Richard will rejoin us as soon as he gets his connection back and in order. And while we wait for him, that is the end of our wine knowledge for this show, though. We got it all up out of the way. Oh, he's coming back.
There we are.
He's back.
Fantastico.
And we also have David Avalone with us. I blame myself. Thank you, David. We will blame you too. Since you're offering, we will easily have a scapegoat. There's still no Richard here. Okay, so I will remove him. And Richard, if you can hear me, blame David Avalone, not Dave Baxter, the other David that is with us here today. Removed from stage. All right, let's see if he can get his stuff together.
I have faith he'll be back.
Dallas. He'll be back. But yes, we are done with our wine knowledge. We got it all out of the way up front. That is unusual for us. We usually save it for the end. But while we wait for Richard, why don't we go take a look at his book? So Dallas, can you see, I know you're co-host in this. Can you see Richard down below when he pops in and pops out or no?
No, it's not popping in.
Okay. So that's going to be actually we can blame the Canadian internet. Very likely, very possible. The American internet ain't much better. Let's be real.
Oh, there
this.
we
He's
are.
Back. All right.
Welcome back.
I'll be very clear. This isn't just Canadian internet. It's that my house is so long.
I think the
now you guys are frozen again, or I said something so funny.
Well, you're frozen again to us, but
I think it's Coca-Cola.
You froze with a perfect little snapshot right there. The otter died. Oh, the jokes. Well, here, this usually works for Dallas. Let me see if I can remove you from stage and bring you back. But I don't think it's working because you're frozen now off screen. Son of a gun. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go look at the book. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go over and look at the Kickstarter. Wet Cement. I will hopefully be able to hear Richard when he pops back in with a little tech boop sound that it usually gives me when he does that, and then I'll bring him back on stage. So Wet Cement, guys, if you're unfamiliar with this one, it is, once again, first issue, 6-part series based on that mini comic that Richard did as part of 52 mini comics in 52 weeks to compete with DC's 52 that he did in 1 year. It is complete insanity. It is Kickstarter. Stop that. But it is well and truly funded. We are just shy of 3,000. Let's get them over 3,000. 112 backers, 7 days to go. So final week. Let's watch the video. Let's see what we got here. Ooh, beautiful video.
Fantastic.
Let's see if Richard is in fact back with us. Oh, he moved.
Hello.
He moved.
Yep.
He's back. He's back in America.
So now
That's
you're
a Canadian thing.
Welcome to my my drawing studio area. How is my sound in this giant fucking room?
Sounds good. Sounds
pretty nice, actually. Pretty nice, yeah. All right. So here is the main Wet Cement cover. We did not talk much about the goldfish motif in this. Where did that come from?
It started out that I just fucking love drawing goldfish and all kinds of fish, as you've seen in my various other books. But then it's that, part of it is the idea of like what does a normal person's home have, and what do we not notice because it's normalized to us. When I was a kid, my grandfather sold goldfish out of his backyard, And I remember like going to someone else's grandparents' house for the first time and being really confused because there were no goldfish. I was like, that's just what grandparents have.
Right.
And with the theme of all of the stuff, the themes of the wet cement being unnoticed and everything, it just seemed like it fit naturally to have Max's father have thousands of goldfish in the backyard that are somewhat legally for sale.
Somewhat. I did like the gray area there. It's like everyone looks the other way because who really cares? But you're not supposed to do it. Beautiful. And that is actually in the story too. You actually had Max have your childhood, but father instead of grandfather. But also, but yeah, there were so many things I thought as a child that were completely normal that were totally not, and it was my family that were fucking weird. And yeah, that's always a bit of a learning curve.
And tell us again, Richard, the genesis of the idea. What year are we talking with the short story?
This short story was done in 2012 or 13, I think.
Okay.
And then this book is set 2015 because I like a big part of this is that it's about a boy who like he's at that point in his life where like problems are about to become real, like he's young enough that everything that matters to him doesn't really matter in the long run. But that's kind of that's becoming nebulous and that's shifting. And I thought like we all felt that way in 2015. We had no fucking clue how bad things were about to get. So I thought like, why not? If we all think back to 2015, I think it's really easy for people to get into the mindset of like, oh yeah, the carefree days.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think like
we thought we were doing nothing but getting better.
These pre-apocalyptic days. I like it.
A lot of books about characters who are in high school or teenagers, whatever, they feel so distant when I read them, and I wanted to find a way that like adults could read this, because I'm not doing books for kids anymore. I'm doing books for adults, and I want people without having to set it back in 1998 to make it so accurate. Like I mean, I'm sure we all saw Saltburn and regret it, but like that movie is so specifically set the year that Emerald Fennell was in college to be like, this is what college was like for me, I guess. Yeah. And it just annoyed me immediately because I was like, fuck you and your musical taste. So I wanted to be like, what's someone else's high school experience like? What are the universal parts of it? I loved Freaks and Geeks when I was 14 and it was set in 1981. And I had no fucking clue what 1981 was like, but I think it was, it was probably a lot like New Zealand in 1999, but setting this in 2015 just gave that way of saying like, this is this moment. And I get through this coming of age story about this boy who really cares about film, but only sees like the biggest, most obvious films to see because he's a teenager and doesn't like, he says at one point, like, he doesn't like his friends, but they like to see movies. And so that's something. And I think that we've all kind of had those people in our lives.
Oh, yeah.
A big part of the maturation of the main character across the 6 issues. And like, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but like, I thought about like, what would make someone who was excited to see Age of Ultron not bother seeing Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice? And like, what can happen between those 2 points of cinematic releases to a person that could make them grow up?
Well, that's an interesting little dilemma to solve there. I like that actually. That as a writer, that makes me there's a challenge to rise to. I like that. Yeah.
Now, to be clear, I did see Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice in theaters.
Right.
And in fact, I saw it in 4DX, so I did get like wet and smelly from it.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, obviously, we were all adults by the time those movies were coming out, so we weren't quite that young and impressionable. But a number of people, I think, were with the DCU until Batman versus Superman. And that was the straw that broke most camels' backs. Yes. And they were like, now you've got to claw us in kicking and screaming. You got to really prove to us it's not going to do this shit again. Me personally, I hated 300. Like I hated it with a passion. I couldn't finish it. It killed me. And I never saw Man of Steel. I never saw BVS. I did like Snyder's Dawn of the Dead remake. I thought it was a very decent, fun, high energy remake of that. But after the 300 I was just like, and then every trailer I saw of what he did after that looked like more 300. So I was like, I'm not interested. I know I can't do 10 more minutes of that shit, let alone 3.5 hours of that shit.
What was your big issue with 300, by the way?
Two things. One, it boring as shit, which is the greatest sin, right, of the whole thing. It was so self-serious and boring.
Yes.
And I liked Frank Miller's comic. I thought the comic was good. And now looking back, right? Well, and looking back at the comic, it's troubling as well. But at the time, I was young enough that when I was reading it when it was originally coming out, and it was not as troubling to me. I was not really clocking the portrayals of the Middle Eastern characters or what have you. So I was like, yeah, okay, this is this is a well drawn, gorgeous, cinematic type. Biblical type spectacle, but it was of course biased with which side it chose, like biblical stories, where it's like there are good guys and there are demonic bad guys, and here we go, David versus Goliath kind of a thing. But the movie, not only was it boring with all its slow-mo, and I was just, like, the slow-mo was it was such overkill. It was so ever present, and I was just like, oh my god, what 5 seconds of no slow-mo, like with people moving, but it's not slow-mo. But it was either talking heads or slow-mo, and I could not make it through half the movie. And it killed me that the whole point in the comic of the story, the point of the plot, is not that the Spartans are just that macho that they're like, we have to fight even if it kills us. They were buying time for the rest of the clans to get together. They waffled until it was too late, but they were like, we're going to hold them off at the pass. So the rest of you can bet. They didn't defeat the enemy. They just held them off for long enough that when they broke through, the other armies had finally assembled. And in the theatrical cut, in the main cut, I don't know if there's a director's cut. I've never seen it. If there is, in the main
I don't know
cut,
if Zack Snyder does director's cut.
there is no mention of that plot point. They are just gung-ho, and they're going to win by throwing themselves at the enemy. And I was like, this whole plot is pointless now. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's not even doing anything, and it was boring. So anyway,
I agree with absolutely everything you're saying. All of it. It was boring. It was an overuse of slow motion and weird aesthetics, which it just didn't make sense. I also think it was sort of self-serving and sort of almost masturbatory, but that is all saved by the sheer
Gerard Butler
amount of skin shown in that film.
Yes. As a skin flick, I will not begrudge anyone.
It is top-notch skin flick.
As a pure, like, let me see what the human body can be, and let me just ogle it in all these great heroic poses and action shots in slow-mo, so you get to ogle it. It's not, you don't have to pause. You don't have to pause it.
It's paused for you. Which
it's also it's high enough. It's like high key lighting in a way that makes you quicker in an anatomy lesson at all times.
Oh yes, and I didn't realize I watched it the first time, and actually, Dave, I didn't finish it the first time either. To be fair. I watched it again probably about 6 months ago. I forget, I was doing something. I wanted something on the background, and I didn't realize the what's the British actor's name? Fassbender.
The guy who Fassbender.
I think he's British. I didn't realize he was one of the characters in the film. I think
Fassbender is Irish. Actually.
Is he Irish? We'll go with that.
I think he's Irish.
I think it's generous to say there are characters in that film.
But yeah, it is a top-notch skin flick. So
it was an interesting time for like the male body being on display in films in a way that was honestly surprising to even me. I remember talking to a woman who was in her I guess 60s around that time. And it was that and Troy were the only two DVDs she owned. Yeah. And she talked to me at length about how she really liked how much it showed off men's attractive knees.
Interesting.
I've never really thought about knees before.
To be fair, Troy is another one of those films which, while not being saved by its nudity or skin content, does have a pretty high skin quotient.
Yes, so, I was gonna say they even do that thing whenever they're like polishing a sword and you see their arms like twisting and writhing, and so it's like muscle,
you
like
see the sinews, and you see the
right. It's like it took what JCVD was doing out like in direct to DVD stuff, like the Jean-Claude Van Damme thing, where it's like, look at my butt, look at my arms, look at my like I'm gonna move slow and I'm gonna flex in everything I do, and like put it onto Brad Pitt, put it onto Eric Bana, and like
they know who their core audience is. They know exactly who the core audience is.
I saw Troy over and over again one night because I was my first time at San Diego Comic-Con. My publisher bailed at the end of the second day when they realized that the books were all misprinted, and they canceled all the hotel rooms before realizing that like I was there from New Zealand and they really needed to have me somewhere because I couldn't go home to LA with the rest of them. So they put me in a room with their friend who was I'm not going to say any names here, but a pro wrestler who was recovering from a little bit of a meth addiction at the time.
Oh, lovely.
And I got into the room really late because it's Comic-Con, obviously. And I come in and very kindly, he's given me the bed in his room. And he is sleeping on the floor. But the lights are off and Troy is playing at full volume on the television. He's asleep. So I turn off the TV, at which point he like sits bolt upright like that fucking Don't Wake Daddy board game, like it was real spring action, and he just looks at me wide-eyed and says, I need that for sleeping.
Wow.
And so I put it back on, and it was playing on a loop all night long. So I sat up and watched Troy over and over again.
Lucky you.
Well, and it's lucky you are someone who does not need much sleep. Certainly not at that time, I imagine.
When he left before me, and there was a little Ziploc baggie of pills that he'd left behind on the dresser, and there were some purple ones, some white ones, and some blue ones. I don't know what they were. I'm not gonna lie. I did go and sell them, pretending they were things. But what he'd taken instead of his baggie of pills was the little Ziploc bag of face-hugging starfish that came with my collectible Starro action figure.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know why those weren't in the box, but if anyone else remembers the 2010 Comic-Con, that fucking Starro toy ruled, and I am sad that I don't have it
anymore. Well,
I mean, he agreed with you right now.
Yeah. Well, on that cheery note,
I finished the bad wine, and I left the box of wine at the other end of my house. So I'm going to go get good wine from nearby.
All right.
Go.
Really
we'll go. We'll continue on.
Do that.
Campaign.
Do that. We will continue on. I will point out that the goldfish, you can get your own sticker set of nothing but the goldfish, as we just saw, to decorate another comic with goldfish of your choosing. Your desk, your laptop. Like, I think this is a great idea. Honestly, it's available as an add-on for any physical tier. It's I'm sure it's part of certain tiers. But this was probably one of my favorite rewards that you could get here, because I just do love the goldfish.
What are we drinking, Richard?
I am now pairing this with a Copper Moon Sauvignon, a Cabernet Sauvignon.
Better.
This is the cheapest bottled wine you can buy here in Canada. I thought there was a bottle of my favorite, the Oyster Bay Pinot Noir, but it turns out there is an empty bottle sitting on my liquor table. So,
did you say your liquor table?
Yeah.
All right.
His bar, his home bar. It's a liquor table.
Well, it's not a bar; it's a table.
It's a table where the liquor stays.
Well, we set it up for a party once, and my husband and I, we always have a drink before bed. He has terrible fucking whiskey mixed with 7-Up, and I have vodka on the rocks. And we would always, without fail, end up with like half full bottles of 7-Up and whiskey sitting and vodka sitting on the kitchen counter, and it was always a mess. Yeah. And when we set up this party, we had all the drinks out, and I was like, this is quite nice, actually. Well, let's just leave this up. Because it was a table that we didn't really use that we brought in from the kennel. That sounds normal to me. We have dogs here, so we have a separate building for the dogs. It's the goldfish all over again. But so we now keep that set up permanently. I was out of town for about a week, and I came back, and my husband had, I guess, stocked up on 7-Up, and there was like 36 fucking bottles of 7-Up sitting on the table. And it was just like this glowing green nightmare in the morning sun. God, that is so much better.
Very nice, very nice.
And that is saying something, guys. That is Copper Moon Cabernet Sauvignon, and it is so much better. So
much better.
That's the bar we're working with here.
Like, I feel like someone who's, I mean, look, Copper Moon always tastes a little bit like carpet, so this isn't much of a stretch, but it feels like someone has rolled out a red carpet over top of the filth. This is
That's a nice way back around there. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm back in Hollywood right now. We're just covering the filth with something pretty.
Yeah. All right.
Something equally as filthy. It's been walked on much before, but pretty and filthy.
Exactly.
So Lars Helsby.
Yes, Lars Helsby. This is the alt cover, the movie theater cover of our two main characters, Max and Frankie, respectively. And I do love all the graffiti over here.
Yeah,
I'm assuming that's.
Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I think that is her Instagram handle in the back there.
Yes,
maybe?
It is. Yes,
it is.
On their X-Files of Frankenstein cover, they put their signature on there, and I had changed. I'd shifted the color tone a little bit on the cover, and their signature became almost invisible. And so I said to them, like, go fucking wild this time. Like, let's make up for it. And so they put their Instagram and Twitter handle. They are one of my favorite artists. This was actually a spite cover. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
I had decided that for this book, I wasn't going to have anyone else do variant covers. It was a time crunch. I was just going to do all of them myself. I'm having this realization that being the writer and artist on the book means that people want my covers more than anyone else's, whether the art is better or not. You know, people they're coming to, a lot of people are coming to the campaign for something from me, and they want my cover. So even when I have these fucking fantastic artists on things, my cover is outselling them like crazy because I that's the only reason I can really put it down to. And so I decided that for this one, I would do 3 covers myself and have that so that the collectors who want multiple covers, so I could explore different aesthetics, etc. And then on Lors's Twitter one day, I saw someone post a comment saying, I can't remember what the context was, but they said like, no, I just don't, I want you specifically to not get any work in comics. And I was like, I don't even need to go back and read where this is coming from. So I just commented on it to Lors. Hey, would you like me to pay you money to draw another cover because your work is so fucking good? And I really do love, I love their work. I really do. But like, I wasn't going to have a variant at all. And then it was like, no, absolutely. I will get a variant cover out of spite. And I am so happy with this piece.
Good decision.
It's the ACAB of it all makes it a little not 2015, but I don't fucking care. This is like a time capsule of everything. The graffiti feels like it could be from any time, but I think it's sort of nice because it means that like Max and Frankie are in this movie theater. There's a clearly an abandoned movie theater, and they are just there forever. That's the moment they're capturing, and they're staying in it, and I just love it.
Yeah, good choice for sure.
Is gorgeous, and it gives their style gives the characters this little bit of like extra, I don't know, verisimilitude, for lack of a better term. Like it really their style gives them something that's a little more like, now I can picture them in the real world a little better. Having seen this here. So yeah. And then we also have.
Oh yeah, this is fun. This is fun.
Yeah. These sort of so what do you call this?
It's pulpy, but it's also
punk poster homage. There we go. Hand glued. There we go.
Homage,
Yeah, like a collage. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's almost like you would. It's almost paper doll like, but that wasn't. Yeah, I couldn't figure out. But you're right. Punk cover.
Well, it's those
Collaging.
those old punk like fucked up photocopied punk show posters.
Yeah.
So I printed out the pieces. Like all the shoes are all every part of it is actually. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So every part of it is all hand drawn, and then photocopied onto different colors of paper, the pink and the orange, and then all glued together. It's a real glued together piece, and then photographed with light behind it, so it created that strangeness to it.
Very nice.
It honestly looks like big chunks of meat falling down around them because of the way the color worked, but like
yeah,
it's all in-camera tricks. There's no digital alteration at all. That is there's
nice.
Zero Photoshop in that cover.
That's cool. You do always like to have like the one real world medium cover, whether it's sculpting or like I would have assumed you just sort of drew this or did this in Photoshop these days, but yeah, that's impressive. Computers. That's cool.
I'm right there with you.
I think if I've just reorganized my office. Somewhere under all of these things. Here's all the wet cement. Oh yeah, there it is.
Oh. Hold on, let me make you big. Boom. Oh, nice.
So there it is, all cut out and stuck together, and then I put on a light table to photograph it, and then just fucking around with exposure and filters and things. And even the actual logo for the book and everything is done on scraper board.
Very cool.
So I wanted it to really feel like it was, the graffiti is not literal in the story. I mean, like outside of the cement itself. But I like the idea of creating, like I said before, we create our image in the world by making our mark. And so I wanted everything in this to feel like some kind of graffiti. So the scraper board is kind of the obvious way to do it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
There was an alternate version of the logo where I actually just went and spray painted it on the wall of my garage. And I tried all different kinds of like configurations and things. So like, I'm not gonna plan it. I'm just gonna write "Wet Cement" by Richard Fairgray, different things. And so now, if you go into my garage, it says "Wet Cement" by Richard Fairgray in like 19 different places around the wall.
Forever the Wet Cement garage, the workshop for the comic.
Was it like before this? The garage had been turned into a haunted house for my wedding, so there was all kinds of.
That's a hell of a statement. That's a hell of a sentence.
That is. I think I vaguely recalled this story though from like our very first show together. But yeah.
So there was already like a lot of weird shit around there. There was a plan initially with that punk cover to do the whole thing with acetate layers, like I'm going to do for like I've done for my next series, which launches in a couple of months. Which I guess we'll look at then because I should keep some things secret. I did announce the other day what my 27 books for the year would be.
Yes, you did.
27 books for the year.
27 books for the year. Let that.
By the way, I got 2 job offers on the weekend, so now it's more.
Oh, Jesus Christ! I mean, congrats, but
congrats. Absolutely.
Yeah, you are more than halfway to your 52 full books in a year. So now you just need to actually make those full comics like 20 to 22 pages absolute max, and then maybe you can pump them all out in like total page count. I think.
Stick to 31.
Like Haunted Hill 3 and 4, volumes 3 and 4 will come out this year. That's 2 of them, so they'll be 64 pages each. Wet Cement 1 through 3 will happen this year, 30 pages each. There's 2 more Ex-Wives books. The Lights That Guide You Home is my new horror series that has the acetate covers, and they're 48 pages each. And I'm doing a graphic novel called Middle 60, which will be 60 pages, obviously. So, you know, like I'm not going to be lazy about it. I'm working on a thing called Frog Alley right now, which I'm not sure if it's for Blue Fox Comics or if I'm doing it myself. But we'll see, because they just put out Whale, so I don't know if they want to. They want 2 more standalone horror stories from me. So I might make that one of them, or I might give them something else.
All right. Damn. Well,
you are prolific,
here are some photos of. He is. You will see some of the photos and some of the add-ons you can give here. The Ex-Wives of Frankenstein 1 and 2. This one right here is one of his other real-life art covers that was a sculpture that was then photographed and captured as a cover. When I was looking at the punk cover, I was kind of thinking of this thing, like the little paper doll-ish type of cover. Yeah, but then I was like, no, it's not quite that. But yeah, it's a full-on collage. So there you go. This one is just a drawn cover. They were trying to make it.
That paper, like the cutout paper doll dress-up thing, is by Hey Weirdo, not by me. Just so everyone knows.
Yes.
They should look up her work.
It is an alt cover by someone else. Yes. Yeah. And then I know, Richard, you wanted to make a sticker set out of it. Yeah.
I'm sure you remember at some point I was wearing my Sexy Grimace shirt on this show.
Yes.
Same artist as that.
Okay.
And this is collected in the Richard Sucks thick
and horror shorts.
No, this is Richard Sucks floppies.
Oh, the floppies. Ones, this is the floppies.
Yeah. And then Richard Sucks thick ones is all the big books.
Yeah. The graphic novels, 4-color heroes, Haunted Hills, Octopus and Shed, and Ghost.
Shed.
Yeah. So that's just everything that's come out in the past 12 months.
Yep. Yes, it is. And own a piece of the comic. You can get a page of the original pencils folded up and jammed inside your copy of the book for just $50. That's nuts.
That's a good tier. That's lovely.
That is dirt cheap.
Yeah.
That's great. Or if you want the fancy finished piece, then you can buy one of these 5 finished original pages.
The originals. Very good.
Yeah.
And so you know, you two have seen the final comic. That first page doesn't really show up because I don't have a good scan of it anymore. But I actually there's so much blue pencil on the final pages because I didn't want to have to do a lot of rendering with the digital coloring. I wanted to kind of have a lot of the shadow at least done with pencil. So as you scroll down, you'll see the other ones and how kind of heavy on the blue pencil they go.
Oh yeah.
Now the final version of that doesn't have the word "sold" across it.
Of course. You should do that. Just like anyone who buys a page, have a big stamp that you can like stamp and like bam, and then mail it to them. Be like, sold.
Do you know the artist Billy Apple?
No.
Billy Apple does artworks that are just like screen prints of a receipt for the artwork.
That's cool, actually.
That is cool.
All right.
Yeah. I can see all the blue line. That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
There's 5 pages available. I guess 4 now, including like I really wanted to kind of show off that like I'm not using any trickery. So like when I do this fisheye security mirror thing, I am actually drawing it by hand. I'm not taking an image and warping it later.
Yep. And drawing them fast, folks. Think about how many pages he is doing.
Richard is an analog god among us.
How?
637 need to be drawn between now and January 1st.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that last page is in my script I've written it just says page 30, Max and his older brother talk while his older brother plays Tekken 7. And then I got to it and I'd done this like very like plain layout of Max walking up behind him behind the couch and just sitting down. I was like, what if this was just shot from inside the TV so I could see Heihachi doing all his fun punching?
That is a good panel, actually. It's very good.
And so, yeah, I get to like, you get to be inside. A lot of the time with this book, it's about what are the filters we're seeing the world through. Like the filter of like a kid watching a movie, the filter of putting your name in the cement. Like it's no longer you, but it's a memory of who you were. The filter of the mirror, the filter of the security cameras, the lens that we view our friends through versus who they really are. So then the idea of like the video game watching them and this like anger and the thing. And in the final comic version, the fully finished colored version, you actually see the text on the Tekken screen in reverse at the last panel, just saying like a new challenger has entered, to sort of match the idea that Max has just been drawn into this world.
Very nice. Yeah, I was looking to see if that was one of the sample pages, but it's not.
No, I didn't want to give away the ending of it on the campaign. I'll just say it out loud in a podcast. I'm good with spoilers. It's fun doing this kind of horror story where spoilers don't matter. Most horror stories are really, you have to, what's the reveal going to be? This is a vibe. This is, the same thing that I've been saying all weekend at the Calgary Expo selling Shed. Like, this is a lighthearted comedy that will creep you out, and you will not be able to put your finger on why.
I will say one thing that really comes through, which is kind of why I said it was so grounded, is the ennui. These characters, they're just sort of listless and just there, but not, and trying to find themselves, but not with any great energy or exertion. It's fun. It feels like you said, a vibe, a very familiar vibe.
Yeah. Max is angry, and he's angry at his world. Like his father. The only time you see his father in the whole book is just that one page of him standing like out in the yard, just silently staring at his fish. Like this man who has all this. Like, imagine if you said to someone, "Oh yeah, my dad has a secret bomb shelter filled with goldfish." Like, that's so fucking cool. I mean, you see this guy and he's just nothing. Yeah. And how angry does Max have to be that this person, this hollow shell of a man, is who he has in his world? His fucking loser brother at home just waiting to play Tekken with him and talk about wet cement.
It's funny. So we might get a lot more of the brother in future issues, but like the brother actually seems like the most non-losery of everyone in the book so far in issue number 1. But I don't know if maybe that is not where it's going.
It's not that he's a loser. Look, it's this, the cement takes things from us. The brother says to him, "Don't write your name in that." And I think it's worth noting that the brother is, and we were all here referring to him as the brother.
Little foreshadowing there.
How many times has the brother given his name to this cement and had it disappear?
Right. Yep.
How many bodies are in the cement? Dun, dun, dun.
It's a very small patch.
Beautiful. And of course, all the books a la carte, as you like them. Don't forget, all these $25 ones are full graphic novels.
Yes, I'm not lazy doing single issues. Ex-Wives, their single issues, $15 a piece.
Yeah.
And Too Hot for Octopus is there as well, which I'm almost out of. So that's going to become super, super rare. I'm going to do a reprint, but it won't have. So with this version of it, the original run of it, there's 200 copies that I did where the binding tape and the label on it are actually a real label and a real piece of binding tape, and I'm handwriting the title and my name on every cover. So they really are individual pieces.
Very nice.
Once those run out, I'm going to be just doing a standard print run where it will have, that stuff will be printed on it. So get in while it's special. I think we're down to like 9 of them or something at this point. And I had a crazy.
Are you still decently stocked on Ghost? I think that's your other rare one, right?
No, I've got I have no idea what I have down in LA. I've completely run out in Canada. Sold out this weekend of the 150 that I have up here. I've done I've done fewer shows down there since Ghost Ghost came out, so I have some. But the wonderful thing about Ghost Ghost is that Stack Deck, the publisher, has them, and Tara Avery can drive up from Palm Springs and deliver me another box if I want to buy them.
Yay!
So
beautiful.
Yeah. And it'll give me an excuse to hang out with her and have drinks, which would be nice.
That's right.
But
there you go.
I can sort of reveal this. I'm going to be doing, the 52 funny books I mentioned earlier. I'm going to be doing something with those on future campaigns. They haven't been in print in America ever, so I'm going to start putting them in print as little 8-page mini comics with nice little card covers.
Oh.
And I think the plan at the moment is the first 50 backers on every campaign will get a copy of one of the 50. Well, it's actually going to be 62 because it'll be the 52 funny books plus the first 10 Ghosts. And the reason I'm going with that number is because then, that way I can add one more and match the original run of Goosebumps. So, there's one more thing I have in common with R.L. Stine. Someone gave me R.L. Stine's jacket years ago, and I have no idea if this is real. They gave me a jacket, and they were like, "Did you know this used to belong to R.L. Stine? I thought you'd want it." I was like, "Sure, it's a cool jacket, I guess." And I just wear it as a jacket. I have no idea if it really is R.L. Stine's jacket, but I like having it, thinking like, this is R.L. Stine's jacket.
The lore is what matters.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't name it that way. Someone else named it that way. Right. So now you get to say it. Yeah.
Cool.
I went as him for Halloween one year.
What was that?
Just wearing the jacket, nothing else. You just wore the jacket.
No, I wore the jacket, but he has a big wart or bump or something on his forehead. So I made one of those, and then I carried around a big sack of money.
That'll do it.
I like that.
That'll do it.
I need to
love it. So
I need to stop doing Halloween costumes that people have to ask, "What are you?
What are you?" Yeah. Too clever for your own good.
Generally, I do the same. Yeah.
It's got to be. You got to dumb it down. Don't give the audience any intelligence.
When they canceled, when they were defunding PBS, I went as a homeless version of Bert from Sesame Street, and I was like, "This is quite funny because it's I'm now out on the Sesame Street," and no one fucking got it. They're like,
"No,
you're Bert, but you have stubble and you're carrying a bindle," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm homeless Bert."
Nope. No, I wouldn't have gotten that at all. Not even a little bit.
Yeah, I went. My husband and I went.
When I said don't give the audience any intelligence, I was speaking from experience as an audience member.
So one year, my husband and I, Ray, we went as we got full white outfits, and I wrote E. Cummings poetry all over the clothes, and it was just Richard and Ray Cummings all over each other. No one got that. The year that we went as Ned and Todd Flanders to the gay Halloween parade on Santa Monica, people really got that as the grossest fucking incest couples costume of all time, and we did make out a lot in front of people to make them uncomfortable. So that'll do
it.
Beautiful.
That'll do it.
So I have a question for you, Richard. I don't know if I've asked this in the past. I don't think I have because I have no memory of an answer to this. But reading this one and listening to your sort of creative process and how many pages you are doing, how do you write these stories? You say, are you you write down kind of what's happening on each page? Do you only do dialogue after you draw it? When do you write this stuff, let alone draw all of it in this time? What is that process?
So I get up every day at 3. I write until 7. And I work on multiple projects at a time. I will, like as I said before, I'll listen to the music that is relevant. It's not quite this right time period, but I've been listening to the album "Young Enough" by Charlie Bliss on a basic loop for this book. It's got it's the perfect blend of it's modern music, but it feels like stuff that I would have liked when I was a teenager. That was very much. I went to a Charlie Bliss concert back in April last year, and I got to the door, and the guy looked at me and said, "Here's a ticket that'll get you upstairs to where there's seating. We're just giving it to the parents mostly." And I was like, "Got it, cool, thanks."
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
And to be fair, I went upstairs and I sat down and had a little nap during between the opener and the main show.
Well, I was going to say I've never heard of Charlie Bliss, so that should probably tell us all something.
Okay, well, they
maybe only about me,
but here's the thing: they open for Veruca Salt for a tour, and so I heard about them through that, which gives.
There you go.
Did you guys just hear that noise?
Yeah. What was that?
That's a noise that my dog makes sometimes.
Oh.
Yep. Whoop. I wanted to see.
Wow.
Do I? Yes, because you moved. There we go. Now I can reduce the mic background noise. Now we won't hear it anymore.
Okay. Well, we'll never know.
I'm sorry. My cursor's all over the place. There we go.
All right.
So, it was that kind of the Charlie Bliss vibe. They do a song called "Blown to Bits" which feels a lot about suburban ennui. But I write from 3 till 7 each morning. With this one, I didn't really have a set page count for it. I just started writing, and I'll see what happens. I'm very good at figuring out once I have a set page count, I can write to it very easily. And so when the first issue ended up being 30 pages, I was like, cool. So the next 5 will also be 30 pages. It'll all match because I like that. And I know that I can fit that much story into it.
Yeah.
I've got the whole story, beat it out, and then I can write the dialogue to it and then figure out the various visual flourishes along the way.
All right. Damn.
I don't do
So are you?
Oh, sorry.
No, you first.
I don't tend to do a lot of I never do the thing of write the dialogue afterwards. I want to do this insanely dense paneling. With X-Files with Frankenstein, it's 880 panels across 88 pages. Because I really wanted to again, it's out of spite. Some chuckle fuck on the internet said that. Oh God, this pisses me off now. I would never write a script with more than 4 to 5 panels per page because I respect my artist's time. You don't respect your artist's fucking brain, though, do you?
Yeah.
I don't want to be bored. And I'm not going to say who this person was, but I read their comics and they sucked. Because they're boring. And here's the thing: it's not just that the writing sucked; it's that you can tell that the artist is bored as shit and not delivering anything interesting. And this is an artist who I've seen do great work elsewhere. Give me a 30-panel page. Give me something that will hold my attention.
Yeah.
So with this one, there are some pages that are really sparse. There are some pages that are really dense. I wanted it to feel largely like the way that your time is broken up when you are a teenager, where you don't know if you're about to be dragged into something where you're told to do a different thing every 4 minutes or if you're being told to do a different thing every hour. So he gets to have these little pauses where he arrives home from school and just stares out the window at his dad. And just this splash page of his dad looking at goldfish. I like the page. It's a nice page, but it's not like it's giving massive story. It's giving tone. Where they can then have these pages where someone interrupts him, where he's running from something, where things happen suddenly. Yes, he has no real problems right now. The problems are becoming real as he grows up, but he also has very little control of his life. And these moments of rage that he has, where he just snaps at his friends and fucking attacks them twice in the story. They're because he just feels helpless and he doesn't have the language for it.
Right.
So a lot of the time it's like my scripts will have these little notes like that, like he just needs to this needs to happen fast, this needs to happen slow. After I've written the script, I usually leave it for a month or so while I'm working on something else, and then I'll go and do all of the layouts for it. And like I have a printed out copy of the script, and I draw the layouts on the whiteboard, and all I mark on the script is the like where what dialogue is in each panel and what page number it's on. And that's incredibly valuable and incredibly important. And sometimes I lose those scripts. And I have the layouts and I have to draw from the layouts. And like, I have no fucking clue what dialogue happens in each panel. With this one, I lost the middle 6 pages of the script. And so the scenes in the middle of the book, I actually rewrote the dialogue. Like I kept, like I have the file, obviously, but I don't have the demarcation of where it happens. So I wrote the I like reworked that and changed the dialogue a lot when I was lettering. But yeah, that's most of the process.
Cool.
Okay. Damn.
It works.
When do you stop working every day?
So it sort of depends. My husband likes to go to bed at about 11:30. So usually at 10:30 or 11, I'll stop working and we'll have a drink. And then he'll go to bed. Sometimes I'll go to bed with him. Sometimes I'll stay up and do an extra hour. When I'm in LA and he's up here, I will always stay up. But here it's about 40% of the time I'll stay up for an extra hour afterwards after we've had a drink and just do a little bit more. I try not to do more than 3 hours a night for sleep.
Okay.
Yep.
Makes sense.
I was on 4.5 for a long time, and I felt physically a lot better, but I wasn't getting enough work done.
It says you. Come now. You're talking about 20 hours of work a day. I mean, you go to see a concert now and again, things like that. I mean, you and travel.
I mentioned I saw Charlie Bliss. That was a year ago. That was
exactly. I said now and again, but it's
No, I look. I don't want to sound like a crazy person. Like when I'm in Canada,
too late.
I do seek out other entertainment. I see every movie.
Yeah.
Like I've been to the theater maybe 50 times this year so far. And I've only been in Canada.
Have I been to the theater this year?
I don't think I've ever been to in my entire life more than.
I know. I think Halloween last year might have been the last time I was at the theater. Maybe the Halloween before last year.
Wait, what did we see? We saw
Terrorizer 2.
Terrifier. Yeah.
Terrifier 2. That
so
might have been one of the last times I was in a theater.
Me too.
I did see last Sunday. So this past weekend I was at Calgary Fan Expo. The weekend before I was here in Surrey, the world's most boring small town that's technically a city. The last Sunday I was here, we went and saw The First Omen, terrible film. Sting, okay film, but has really problematic shit about comic creation. Civil War and Doctor Strangelove. So we just said I've got one day, let's just do 4 movies. So I try to see once a week. I'll go to 2 movies in a day, and then I'll go to 2 or 3 other movies in a week. When I'm in LA, I don't do any movies unless it's very late at night. The Egyptian Theater is halfway between my home and my office, so I walk past it. And so sometimes I kind of get sucked in by like a rep screening of Clueless or whatever.
Oh yeah.
You can't say no to that.
You can't.
See, I cannot do more than 1 movie in a row. That's an impossibility for my brain. I just can't. I can't focus.
I won't watch movies at home at all. I never watch movies at home.
Interesting. Okay.
I need to know that there's nothing else going to happen. Like it's I sit down, my phone is turned off, I can't work. That's it. I'm watching. And even if it's a bad movie, I'm gonna, I'll sit through it. Like tomorrow we're gonna go see Challengers and King Tide and one other thing. Oh, Boy Kills World.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Thursday is Eyes Wide Shut, which I'm very excited about because I haven't seen it for 25 years.
Ooh, yeah.
I've actually never seen that. I've actually never seen it.
I saw that in the theater back in the day, so I love it. Yeah.
I love that movie. Everyone else hated it. Everyone told me it was bad. And so I spent like years being like, I guess I was just wrong. And like probably I was 14 years old. So I just kind of accepted, I guess I had bad taste in movies. And then now it's back in theaters up here, and everyone's changed their mind on it. So
has everyone changed their mind? That's good, because I've also been a total apologizer for that movie. I'm like, it's the arc of the main character is like an insanely effective one, like what it takes him through and how it takes him through it. And I'm like, it's got Kubrick's careful style of both visually and thematically. And yeah, I mean, I think for the time, especially for being such a prestige, dramatic, theatrical release, like, yeah, there's a lot of nudity in it and whatnot, but it's like, it's not
all right, that's enough.
That's not the point. Yeah, that's not the point of it. It's like, it's so well done. Dallas, have you not seen it? You haven't seen it ever,
seen it,
right?
I haven't seen it. No.
Oh, right, wow.
So I just realized
it's on the list. It's on the list.
I've left the other book I'm going to talk about. I've left at the other end of the house. I'm going to run and get that. I'll be right back. You guys.
Okay.
Here's. So Dave, I want you to pitch Eyes Wide Shut to Dallas.
Okay.
While I'm gone, and to the whole audience, because like people might not have seen it because they might be stupid. I'll be right.
I'm a tough sell.
Absolutely.
We'll see.
If they're as stupid as me, they need to know, because Dallas, like you, I heard nothing but bad things about it. All the critics hated it for the most part. All the word of mouth was bad and sour on it. And I don't even remember why I went to finally go see it. This would have been college-ish years or right after, something like that. And maybe it was at the Dollar Theater near my college, which is why I watched a lot of things I never would have watched otherwise. The fourth Batman, the Half-Baked, which I wound up loving as well. Yes. That Tim Robbins, Martin Lawrence movie that they did together. What was it? Nothing to Lose or something like that.
That sounds like in the mid-90s.
And it was fantastic. It was so good. So there were a lot of gems, and Eyes Wide Shut, I think, was one of them. Okay. It's a perfect runtime. It is like, you feel everything. Cruise and Kidman, they feel so real and authentic as two people in a troubled relationship. Like everything sings in that movie. Like the script is exactly what it needs to be. The editing exactly what it needs to be. The performances exactly what it needs to be. Cruise was in that era, coming out of like Jerry Maguire, and he was going to do Magnolia shortly after. Like he was delivering the best performances of his career, and this is one of them, I think, in terms of dramatic performances. So yeah, we're gonna watch it. Maybe we'll put it on the pod. Maybe that's a you and me podcast movie. Like sometime.
It's definitely on the list. I actually have a master list. I've been scratching off the last 2 weeks.
Good.
All right, Richard, what you got?
Hang on, gotta pour more wine. I'm pairing this with the slightly better wine for no real reason. This is a book I was given this weekend. It is called Just Happy to Be Here. It is by Shay Prue, I believe it's pronounced, because I'm Proulx. So I assume Prue, because I think Prolx would be a weird name. Shay and I met in Edmonton last year at a con, and she was, one, a fucking delight, but two, like, you know, sometimes when you're a big fucking garbage dirtbag person and you're very loud and selling a lot of books obnoxiously, the person next to you who's very sweet and nice, you feel bad for all weekend long, and then you talk to her for like 10 minutes and you're like, oh, fuck, you're a big sloppy dirtbag like me. You're just a little more quiet about it. That's Shay. She's fucking wonderful. So it came out through Conundrum Press. It's, as she describes it, she's like, you know how memoir comics are usually fucking terrible? This one is just, it is autobiographical, but it's just capturing these tiny moments. And what I like about it is it's just like this mixture of little like single panel images and like some hand, like written pieces, some prose. It's just this, it's just giving you a sense of who the person is who made it by it existing. And I really love that. And she came to me and she was like drawing this in it while she was talking to me this weekend. And I thought she was drawing in a little notebook. And she said to me, she's like, I'm just thinking if you wanted to like trade, do a trade, because she had Haunted Hill 1, she wanted Haunted Hill 2. And I saw her drawing this on this little white piece of paper and this thing that I thought was a notebook. And I was like, I would love to, but I will lose that because I thought she was just doing a sketch for me. I said, but I will lose that on my way home. Like there's no possible way that from a convention I can take a small piece of paper home and not have it disappear. And she looked at me like so hurt, as if I would like care so little about a book that I would lose it. And she goes, no. And then I suddenly saw the cover. I was like, oh fuck, that's your actual that's your book. Like this is, and I read it on the plane ride home. When I was so tired, I was like, I'm gonna fall asleep. This is gonna be a waste of my time, and it kept me awake for the entire hour and 25 minutes of the flight. It's a very quick read. Okay. And I spent so much time going back over like the beautiful like light line work of it all. And you almost feel like every page is really like if she told me that this was the size of the original art, I would believe her. Because it's so slight and so delicate. And the way that she drew these little flowers inside the front cover for me, you just make it really feel like this like beautiful handmade object, which it isn't, you know.
Right.
I can't stress enough how cool it is. And she is one of the people doing books in this format, and I think there's like this is book number 16 out of like 30 or something that all fit in this little library that Conundrum have put out.
That's great.
Nice.
So and give us the title and the author's name one more time.
Just happy to see. I said it wrong before. Just happy to see you.
Okay. What it's called. Just happy to see you.
And it's by Shay Prue, Proulx.
Is that spelled like Annie Proulx?
Proulx.
Like
Proulx? Is it Proulx?
Proulx, who wrote the gay cowboy story. What's it called?
You're gonna have to narrow it down.
Bareback Ridge or something.
Bareback Mountain.
Bareback Mountain.
Brokeback Mountain.
Ooh, sorry.
Bareback Mountain.
Bareback Mountain is the gay porn version of Brokeback Mountain.
Oh my god.
the proper porn.
Bareback Mountain. And to be fair, the Brokeback only happens if the dick is fucking.
To be fair, there is already some. I hear there's some fan fiction in the works about Dave and I, which might actually overlap that theme. So
this is true.
Is it just called Dave Does Dallas?
Yes.
God.
It's right there.
Yes, it is.
Oy.
Yes. Someone has dropped that joke recently as well. So probably.
As this
I
continues,
think that is where we're going. That is where we're going.
Brokeback Mountain, Annie Proulx, right? Not Bareback Mountain. Okay. God.
There's
There's
a certain amount of Blastosaurus fan fiction out there, some of which pornographic.
Yes.
Yeah. Somebody put out a story which
still kind of weird.
I have I downloaded when it first came out, but I have not been able to find it on the internet again when I was searching for a friend. It's called 50 Shades of Fairgray.
Oh, nice.
Yay!
It's about me and Blastosaurus. And like obviously, like it does all the things, you know, we fuck. But there's just this one moment. I'm so fucking proud of my fans for this.
Blastosaurus.
I can't remember it word for word anymore because I've had, you know, my shameful wine and 2 glasses of other one. But
get the Coke.
The Richard looked up at the looming figure of Blastosaurus and said, "How are we going to do this?"
Oh God.
Blastosaurus looked back down at him and stroked Richard's face gently. "Well," he said, "I'm not a Triceratops."
Yeah.
I was like, I'm so happy that someone who reads my books has done it. And by the way, That dinosaur fucking went to town on me. Like, I was wrecked by the end of that story.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen,
wrecked in more ways than one.
That's right.
Ways than one.
Blastosaurus.
All right, everybody. We are gearing up on 2 hours, and Daddy got to go take a rent check in tonight because my apartment management company is antediluvian and demands a physical check be run in at the end of every month. There is no other way to pay.
I like that.
I got
good for them.
You like that? Very good.
I love it.
So I got to get going, but once again, this has been Richard Fairgray, our semi-permanent co-host on the Wine and Comics Baron Show, bringing you Wet Cement #1 on Kickstarter until Tuesday, May 7th. You only got about a week left. I would get in
and
on
look
that
for that
and
Blastosaurus porn, by the way.
And look on the Blastosaurus. Okay, where do we find this, man? Where do we get some?
I can't find that one. If you look on AO3, there's a little bit of Blasto on there. I think there was last time I looked. If you want to read the original Blastosaurus that isn't porn,
you go.
It's all on richardfairgray.com.
That's right.
I think there's 30 issues on there for free.
Oh, beautiful.
I should also say kickrichard.com is where people should go to get my Wet Cement book.
Yes. And Kick Richard. And go download some pages of Blastosaurus. Then you can draw Richard in to Blastosaurus and create your own Blastosaurus porn.
I want to be very clear. I want you to draw Blastosaurus in Richard.
Oh, wow. Okay.
No, like, look. I'm a bottom. He's a top. We know how this goes.
Yes. So make sure you do not keep it classy. Make it good. Make it worth Richard's while. Don't share it if it's not going to be good and worth his while.
Right. Yeah. Also, remember, if you press your thumb into your palm and form a fist, it releases your gag reflex. That's Richard's life hack for the week.
These nuggets. You just keep dropping these nuggets every time.
Once he's about at least 2 glasses of wine,
it's like 2.5
you gotta get him about half a bottle
yeah.
through. Yeah. And then the nuggets. He holds it back in reserve at first. He's like, I don't know if I can. And then it all comes out.
It's like when he gets past the first Coke and wine glass, and all bets are off.
All right, go pay your fucking rent, Dave. We'll call this show short.
I know. Stop humble bragging. Go pay your rent, and don't say how much you can go pay your rent. Jesus.
That's right.
All right,
guys.
For now,
have a good
everybody.
night. See you next time.
Bye, guys.
See you next time. There will be a next time with Richard Fairgray, a 5th time coming soon. You know,
my next book is out May 14th. Is the next launch. Richard Fairgray comic book character, the good ones, the funny ones, and more. My new comic strip collection and X-Files of Frankenstein on May 21st.
That's how you do it. That's a professional.
Less than a month. Here we go. Bye for now. Signing off.